The three lead characters in Monster House were cleverly written so that not one member of the trio overshadows the others, which I really appreciated. Monster House is the best motion capture movie I've seen, even topping Polar Express. In a way, the low budget worked in the film's favour, as because none of the cast were very well known, their voice didn't take you out to the movie, whereas in Onward, for example, I couldn't stop hearing Chris Pratt's and Tom Holland's voices, not their characters Ian and Barley. It's a supernatural family horror and does push the boundaries of the PG rating, as the film's very creepy and has multiple jump scares. So if you get scared easily, I wouldn't recommend watching Monster House. Sadly, Frankenweenie has been forgotten over the years, which is a shame as it's easily one of Tim Burton's best films. I do think that the stop motion in some parts wasn't the best and could have been better, but it's Sparky and Vincent's relationship that makes Frankenweenie so enjoyable. The soundtrack is great and gave off vibes to classic horror films, which I appreciated. Frankenweenie wasn't a huge box office hit either, probably because kids weren't interested in seeing a black and white film, so this would have eliminated a large potential audience and would have been a big contributing factor to why Frankenweenie wasn't a box office hit. Hotel Transylvania 2 was my favourite of the Hotel Transylvania franchise. After watching all three movies back to back for the first time in a few years, I thought that the original was so much funnier than its sequels, and I really liked that Johnny wasn't sidelined like he was in the sequels, so ultimately I slightly prefer the original Hotel Transylvania than its sequels. I've never really liked Selena Gomez in any of her other films, but thought that Mavis was the role that she was born to play, along with Adam Sandler being the perfect fit for Dracula, bringing his usual style of comedy to the character. I did however notice that the actors didn't do a great job at pulling off some of the scenes that were meant to be emotional, and the comedy in those scenes didn't feel needed. Hotel Transylvania is a much more family-friendly film than many other great animated horrors such as Coraline and Monster House, which will both likely traumatise kids. The Nightmare Before Christmas is one of the most beloved Halloween movies of all time, even though many argue that it's more of a Christmas film. For a Disney film, it goes quite dark at times, especially with some of the characters looking creepy for a Disney feature. The film's soundtrack is so catchy and memorable, and personally I love This Is Halloween and What's This, but do love every single song in the film. If you're a die-hard fan of Nightmare Before Christmas like myself, I'd recommend checking out the Movies That Made Us series on Netflix, as it goes in depth with the film's troubled production and is full of interesting facts, such as Danny Elfman does the singing voice for Jack in Nightmare Before Christmas, instead of Chris Sanderson who does his dialogue scenes. I really liked Jack as he was so full of personality, making him very enjoyable to watch on screen, and I loved Oogie Boogie, the film's multi-dimensional villain. Nightmare Before Christmas is a Halloween classic that should be a must-watch for everyone every single Halloween. You can make a point that Monsters Inc. isn't really a Halloween movie, but I've decided to include the film on this list, as when looking up Halloween movies, others do count Monsters Inc. Monsters Inc. was released during Pixar's golden era, where every one of their films were masterpieces, and I was so tempted to include Monsters University on this list, but ultimately decided to only include one film from each franchise. Pixar are geniuses, as no other studio would have thought to centre a film around the age-old saying that monsters are hiding in your closet, and the brilliant way that they executed the film makes it, at least for me, an easy top 5 movie of all time. Thanks for watching the video. Let me know your favourite Halloween animated movies in the comment section below.